I recently read Shoe Dog, the Phil Knight memoir, and wanted to look more into one of the biggest rivalries in the sports world, Nike versus Adidas. In this video, we're going to look into both the history of Nike and Adidas, and how they are both trying to get a leg up on each other.
For the 718th time, we present Camaro versus Mustang.
Many of us rely on them to get around, and I always wonder, you probably do too, which one is better?
It's just one offensive in its battle with rival Pepsi for hearts and taste buds.
Before we begin, don't forget to like and subscribe to support the video. Nike is one of the best known shoes, sports equipment, and clothing brands in the world. It is estimated that they enjoy somewhere in the region of 60% market share and have become rightfully a pop culture icon. But their name and logo were almost not a thing at a very early stage. Nike, or as they were known at the time of founding, Blue Ribbon Sports, was the birthchild of Bill Bowerman and his former student Phil Knight. Bowerman at the time was a track and field coach for the University of Oregon. The company that would become Nike was created in 1964, and they would open their first retail outlet in 1966. The company initially served as the U.S. distributor for running shoes made by Japanese company Onitsuka, aka Asics. Nike, more specifically Blue Ribbon Sports, was founded and initially operated in Eugene, Oregon. It was originally set up to be the official U.S. distributor for the Japanese running shoes and would sell around 1,300 pairs of shoes in its first year. With no official sales premises, the founding members were forced to sell shoes out of the trunk of their cars. In 1965, the ever-inventive Bowerman proposed a new shoe to the Tiger Shoe Company, one that sought to provide the right support for runners with a cushioned inner sole, soft spongy rubber in the footwear and top of the heel, hard sponge rubber in the middle of the heel, and a firm rubber outer sole. This design would turn out to be both a major success and source of conflict between Blue Ribbon and its Japanese supplier, dubbed the Tiger Cortez. The shoe dropped in 1967 and became an instant hit for its comfortable, sturdy, and stylish design. Around the time of its success, though, relations soured between Blue Ribbon and Tiger. Nike claimed that the Japanese company was seeking a way out of its exclusive deal with Blue Ribbon and sought to sink the company. Tiger claims they have discovered Blue Ribbon Sports selling their own versions of the Tiger Cortez under a new line of shoes they called Nike. Either way, the two formally split in 1971, with the lawsuit from Tiger following. A judge eventually settled that both companies would sell their own versions of the model, leading to the only sneaker to become a best-selling model for two different shoe companies, as the Nike Cortez and the Tiger Corsair, now sold by Tiger's modern incarnation, Asics. The name Nike is derived from the ancient Greek god of victory, but why was the name chosen? Original co-founder Knight wanted to name their brand Dimension 6. Phil Knight went for Dimension 6. We thought perhaps for his love of the pop group The Fifth Dimension, said Gregory Hollister, the company's third employee, who managed one of the first stores. Various other suggestions were bounced around by other early employees, including Jeff Johnson, Blue Ribbon Sports' first ever employee. In a famous recollection of the meeting, Hollister believed that they should take a leaf out of Puma's book, I Stayed in the Zone of Puma, referring to the successful German shoe company named after a cougar, suggesting the name Peregrine, a type of falcon. Perhaps also inspired by Puma, another early Blue Ribbon Sports employee suggested Bengal. But none of these ideas were popular amongst the current staff. According to Business Insider, Johnson, who ran the company's East Coast factory in Essex, New Hampshire, would come up with another idea. Runner's World contributor Matt McHugh documented how Johnson read an in-flight magazine read about great brand names, such as Kleenex and Xerox. They had no more than 2 syllables, and at least one exotic letter or sound in them, with the Z, X, or K, writes McHugh. At 7 a.m. the next morning, Johnson awoke with the name Nike, but it was only 4 a.m. in Portland, so Johnson waited 3 hours before calling Woodell. "I've got it," said Johnson to Woodell. Woodell asked, "What's a Nike?" "It's a Greek winged goddess of victory," Johnson said. But despite reaching a sort of consensus among existing staff members, Knight really didn't like the name. Adidas was a bit of a darker history than Nike, and it is an older company than Nike is. In 1920, at the age of 20, avid soccer player Adolf Dassler, son of a cobbler, invented spiked shoes for track and field. 4 years later, Adi and his brother Rudolf founded the German sports shoe company, later known as Adidas. By 1925, the Dasslers were making leather shoes with nail-head studs and track shoes with hand-forged spikes. Beginning with the 1928 Olympics in Amsterdam, Adi's uniquely designed shoes began to gain a worldwide reputation. Jesse Owens was wearing a pair of Dassler's track shoes when he won 4 gold medals for the U.S. at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. During the war, both Dassler brothers were members of the National Socialist German Working Party and eventually produced a weapon that was an anti-tank bazooka, made with the help of forced labor. The Dasslers both joined the Nazi Party prior to the war, and Adi supplied shoes to the Hitler Youth Movement and to German athletes at the 1936 Olympics. It was also believed that Adi Dassler used Russian prisoners of war to help at his factories during the war, since there was a labor shortage due to the war effort. The Dasslers had a falling out during the war. Rudolf believed Adi had identified him as a traitor to the American forces. In 1948, Rudy founded what would later become Puma, a rival shoe company to Adidas. At the time of his death in 1959, Dassler held over 700 patents related to sports shoes and other athletic equipment. In 1978, he was inducted into the American Sporting Goods Industry Hall of Fame as one of the founders of modern sporting goods industry. As both Nike and Adidas continued growing, they both focused on getting celebrity endorsements for their shoes. Nike focused on getting future sports stars and signing them to a deal before they got to their full potential, while Adidas looked into getting into more pop culture and teaming up with the music industry and other celebrities. Nike signed all of the biggest names in sports, from Tiger Woods, LeBron James, and Derek Jeter. Their most successful collaboration was with Michael Jordan, and spinning off a whole new brand of shoes called Air Jordans. The shoe was born after a deal signed in 1984. At the time, Converse was the official shoe of the NBA. The company told them that they couldn't put Jordan above the other athletes they sponsored, which included players like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. So Jordan went another way and decided against partnering with them. His favorite shoe at the time was actually Adidas, but the brand told him that they couldn't make a shoe work at the time. Jordan's agent, David Folk, wanted him to go with Nike, which at the time was known more for track shoes. But Jordan wasn't interested, so Folk talked to Jordan's mother, Dolores. "My mother said you're going to go and listen. You might not like it, but you're going to listen," Jordan remembers. Nike offered him a great deal, one that was unheard of for a rookie at the time, and his father said he had to be a fool not to take it. So Jordan did. As legend has it, the NBA actually banned the first iteration of the Michael Jordan shoes, stating that they violated league rules that the sneaker had to be mostly white and reflect the colors of the teams. Jordan was reportedly fined $5,000 for every game he wore the banned Air 1 Jordans, and Nike paid the fines, happy to capitalize on the publicity. But when it came to Air Jordan's popularity, the rest is history. The shoe became a must-have status symbol of the late 80s and 90s. The brand today is more popular than ever, with people buying limited edition Air Jordans as a type of investment, and some shoes are bringing in thousands of dollars in aftermarket sales. More recently, Adidas also partnered up with Kanye West in a similar fashion that Nike partnered up with Michael Jordan. Kanye West actually first collaborated with Nike in 2009 with Air Yeezys 1s. They retailed for $215 and sold out immediately. They collaborated again in 2012 for the Air Yeezys 2s. After they released of the Air Yeezys 2, Kanye West officially left Nike. Although West described the break as heartbreaking, he claimed that Nike would not pay him his royalties for the shoe designs, instead offering to pay some of the proceeds to a charity of West's choice. This ultimately led West to reach out to Adidas. Adidas agreed to give him royalties, and West described the CEO of Adidas as someone who allowed him to build something. In February of 2015, a year and 3 months after the confirmation of the Adidas and Kanye West collaboration, the collaboration officially debuted Yeezy Season 1. Nike and Adidas both have rich histories that have influenced American culture and paved the way for streetwear fashion. Both are also trying to get the upper hand on each other From shoe designs to celebrity endorsements, both companies have carved out a space in both streetwear and in the sports industry in their own way. Both companies are still growing as they try to penetrate the international market, such as China, and become part of their daily culture, as they have huge markets and huge growth potential. And with that being said, as always, thanks for watching, and like and subscribe to see more videos.